Welcome to 3-Point Summary. The ideas, opinions, and discussions of this podcast are those of the host, co-host, and guest, and do not necessarily represent the views of their respective employers or affiliates. Recording and propagation of this podcast is highly encouraged as long as an acknowledgement is given to the ownership. Music and graphics used in the podcast and promotional materials cannot be used in other events not tied to the podcast without the express written consent from Alpha Omega Advisors. Welcome to Summary of 3-Point Cyber. This is Dave Summit and my co-host, Andrew Risch.
Hello, again.
Here we are, and we are producing summaries of our 3-Point episodes where we will pull in the last segment of the podcast, which we call our 3-Point segment, where we draw 3 points out of the discussion of that episode, and it's the 3 points that we really would like our users to take from each one. So it's condensed, so you're not having to listen to the entire podcast, although we highly encourage you to go back and listen to the entire podcast. Our guests have a lot of valuable information that's really good to take.
And they're all very interesting to listen to.
They have been, and we've been fortunate. I've been very honored for our guests to accept my invite. And, believe it or not, I could not believe how much, Andrew, I could not believe how much work this podcast takes to produce. Very early on, just to get one podcast done, I was spending anywhere from about 7 to 10 hours of post-production, just producing the audio and putting it all together.
Wow.
I've got that down to about 5.5 hours now, but still, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for you and I just to sit and do this and coordinate our schedules and then coordinate our guests. Fortunately, with our guests, we do the whole recording for the podcast inside the hour, so we're not taking up all of their time. And then afterwards, you and I get together for the 3-Point segment, and then, I spend all that time doing post-production on them. But it's been great. I've enjoyed these a lot. We have some ideas that we're going to float around with some other podcasts. I know there are a lot of podcasts out there that people can listen to, but the point of the 3-Point Cyber episodes was originally derived from the idea that there are a lot of cyber podcasts, right, out there. If you go out and Google these cyber podcasts, there's a lot of them out there. What I was not finding was the simple talk in cyber where people that are very interested in cyber but are not in the field and kind of don't know how we talk and our technical rapport. It was very difficult for people to stay with us. So that was kind of what drove the idea of 3-Point Cyber. So we could actually have discussions with cyber experts in a very high level manner to where our users can listen and we would not be technical. Just kind of keep it down to a really good level to where you could learn from it.
And I would say I'm the guinea pig on that. And
Andrew,
I will also say that I have learned a lot, and I hope our audience has too.
Andrew, you are the guinea pig. I should have said that off the top. I chose Andrew to come in to keep us from going too technical. And if he's not understanding something in our discussions, he will stop us and bring us back down, get our feet back on the ground. We have a tendency to sometimes go off track or get a little technical with each other, and that's the nerd coming out of us in the technical world. So
yeah, and sometimes it's hard to stop y'all talking.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that. I'm just too passionate, I guess, for this field, because when you get me started, it's hard for me to stop. So what we're doing here today is we're gonna bring in the 3-Point segment from our episode number 2, and our episode number 2 guest was Mr. Roger Grimes from KnowBe4. His official title at KnowBe4 is Data Driven Defense Evangelist. And Roger, I tell you, Roger is a wealth of information. He's very good at how he brings things out and helps you to understand. I've never met anyone like Roger in the cyber field, Andrew. He has so much data collected over the years that he's been doing this that if you doubt what he's saying, he's probably going to prove you wrong by the data that he's got, because he sticks to his data. And I think that's why Roger is really good at what he does.
Yeah, well, I like numbers, guys. I'm a numbers guy myself. So.
Without carrying this out any longer, let's go right to the 3-Point segment. Welcome back to 3-Point Cyber. As suspected, I thought we would have a great conversation with Roger Grimes, and we sure did. So, Roger, I think what I would like to do to end this episode is for you to run over the 3 points, if you wouldn't mind.
The three best things any company, any person can do: fight social engineering, patch your software, use different passwords in every website and service. Those three things, if you do well, you'll be if you do it well, you're very unlikely to be hacked. If you don't do them well, your risk increases that you will be successfully hacked.
Thank you again for joining us, Roger. Really appreciate it. So, Andrew, you have any questions?
I think I'm good. Roger, I really appreciate the talk. I've learned a lot. You were able to explain a lot of things that I did not know in a very clear way. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to 3 Point Cyber, a production from Alpha Omega Advisors. If you have questions about this episode or have a topic for discussion or a guest you would like us to have on, please email us at 3pointcyber@gmail.com. That's 3, the number 3, point, P-O-I-N-T, cyber, C-Y-B-E-R, all one word, 3pointcyber@gmail.com. We encourage you to share this podcast with others. This podcast is owned and produced by Alpha Omega Advisors. The theme song was created by music producer Andrew Van Wert in Nashville, Tennessee. This is Dave Summit, and until next time, keep on learning.